we really appreciate everyone being here and being part of this effort. I'm Jane Campbell. I have the honor to be the President and Chief Executive Officer of the United States Capitol Historical Society, the nonprofit organization chartered by Congress to tell the story of the Capitol and the people who work in it in a manner that inspires informed patriotism. Therefore, we are always partners with American University, particularly around their public administration activities. It is an honor to see Congresswoman Bice here. She is one of the stars of the real dedication to the institution of Congress, and so we are grateful to have you with us. My job is very simple. It's to welcome you here. You're going to understand later why you're here and not somewhere else. We're trying to abide by all of the congressional ethics rules, which is a very complicated thing to do. And so you're allowed to give awards outside of the Capitol and then celebrate the award in the Capitol complex. Thus, you are here at our Capitol adjacent headquarters, where we welcome AU, who we have a great honor. AU holds our archives, all of the papers of the Historical Society, which has now been around for 62 years. We have partnered with AU. We have 3 members of our board who have direct ties with American University. Dr. Thurber has been a longtime member of the board and helped us to put together a symposium on the separation of powers in 2018. Imagine that. We were a little prescient. Sam Fullwood, who is now the retired dean of the Communications School, and Ron Elving, who is telling us all what to do and guiding this operation. Our public historian, Steve Livengood, is a proud alum of AU, which he reminds us on a regular basis. And we have now become a regular hiring operation for American University's public history students. We have 3 of our employees who are in various stages of their public history degrees. So we are everlastingly grateful to have you here with us. You're not here to talk about me. I just want to welcome you and thank you all for being here. This is one of those things where if you start naming names, you could get yourself in a big, big world of hurt. And so, am I supposed to turn this over to Congressman Skaggs? Just like we planned, I turn this over to the man who developed the Madison Prize, who will tell you what it is, why it is, and who won it, and be honored to do that. Congressman Skaggs.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jane, and hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. I send regrets from my bride, Laura, who helped set this up now a long time ago. She is stuck planting at the farm for the next few days, so regrets she can't be here. Glad to have an opportunity to meet the new president of AU, who I have heard much about from our mutual friend, Jeff Lang, and glad to know of your dedication to civic education, which we will pursue tonight. I want to thank Dean Jankowicz and all of the crowd at AU who helped put this together. Ron Elving, thank you, Ron. Sorry this has taken so much of your time lately with other things on your mind. He is leading the team at the Center for the Study of Congress and the Presidency that have managed the Madison Prize's effort and this evening's event. Also want to acknowledge my old friend Jim Thurber, Professor Emeritus at AU, who was really instrumental in making a home for the Madison Prizes at American University and the School for Public Affairs. He and his wife Claudia are also donors to the endowment. Thank you, and thanks to everybody that has contributed in the past. Jim also served on the selection committee for the prizes, along with my former House colleagues Connie Morella and Mickey Edwards, who at one time were Republicans. That was supposed to be funny, but along with Tom Kahn and Gina Adams and Sarah Binder. Happy to have some family with us tonight. My Foreign Service officer daughter Claire in the back, raising her hand sheepishly, along with son-in-law Dean and grandchildren, Madeline and Liam, who is engrossed in his graphic novel, but now has put his head up. Hi, Liam. A word about the somewhat odd sequence of events this evening, which requires me to jump ahead a bit to let you know, in addition to Congresswoman Bice, the other honoree is former Congressman Derek Kilmer from Washington. More about their accomplishments in a minute. The odd aspect in this comes from Representative Kilmer's status as a barely former member of the House, having been paroled only in January. The law governing his conduct prescribes a one-year period during which he cannot lobby or try to influence either current members or staff, and so he's not here yet. And we'll proceed with Congresswoman Bice in a minute, who must then depart for a former scheduled engagement. Then Derek can join us and avoid any ethical issues, the price for ethical purity. Well, let me talk for just a minute about the Madison Prizes and what we hope to accomplish. Laura and I set this up back in 2017, which seems like an eternity ago in terms of our political culture. The idea was and is to recognize and celebrate the fundamental business of Congress, the need for and the ability to work out legislative solutions through compromise. This knack for compromise is often conflated to bipartisanship, related but different. Ardent partisans can nevertheless reach compromise, an outcome which likely better serves the national interest. From the media coverage, you'd think that the current state of polarization is the end of the story of possible compromise. This is surely a problem, but it's not the whole story. The media likes to focus on fights and disagreements, but happily, much gets done out of the glare of the media spotlights, right? But you never know. Anyway, it is that unheralded business of the Congress that we celebrate tonight. I yearn for the old days when Speaker Tom Foley and Republican leader Bob Michel would typically get together and work things out. I fear that's a bit of nostalgia. Still, it can serve to remind us of the core mission of the Article I branch of our government, and that is for the people's representatives to come together in goodwill to meet their shared responsibilities for governance. We named the awards to be given this evening to credit the inspiration and vision of James Madison as he set it out in Federalist 10. You remember Federalist 10, don't you? Good stuff to read. Yeah. There he spoke powerfully of the virtues of representative democracy. I pray for that inspiration and vision to remain relevant and to maintain a hold on the Congress. It is surely no time to give up. And I think I am now meant to turn things over to the Dean, Dean Jankowicz.
Thank you, Congressman Skaggs, for the introduction and envisioning and supporting this prize along with your wife, Laura. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Madison Prize Ceremony. My name is Allison Jacknowitz, and I'm the Interim Dean of the School of Public Affairs. I am thrilled to have you join us today for this important event. I would like to start off by thanking Ron Elving, the Interim Director for the Center for Congressional and Presidential Studies, or CCPS, for organizing this event along with the nomination and selection process for the Madison Prize. He was assisted by Julie Russell and members of the SPA events team. Thank you all, and congratulations to Congresswoman Bice. This past year, SPA celebrated its 90th anniversary. I stopped mentioning that number 90 in favor of a more recent number 9 for our U.S. News and World Report ranking, but I thought it was important tonight to bring that number back up. SPA has a long history, 90 years worth, of housing important speakers, events, programs, and training, and a lot that has been centered around CCPS. In 1979, CCPS was established within SPA by its founding director, James Thurber, who is now a distinguished university professor emeritus and is with us today. Since its inception, the CCPS has significantly enriched the intellectual life of both SPA and AU, while also fostering the deeper understanding of government in the broader community. The CCPS has organized over 300 conferences and forums on American politics, supported numerous researchers focused on Congress and the presidency, and published the esteemed academic journal, Congress and the Presidency. Additionally, it offers certificate courses in campaign management and public advocacy, as well as a legislative study program abroad. The Madison Prize is well situated in CCPS and SPA as it rewards civic dialogue and collaboration, which are two practices SPA champions and teaches to our students. I would venture to say that the principles of the prize fit in well with the President's Civic Life Initiative as well. With that, it is now my pleasure to introduce the 16th President of American University, Jonathan Alger. President Alger is an experienced and visionary higher education leader. Known as a national leader in civic engagement, civic education, and civic discourse, he is a nationally recognized scholar and speaker on higher education policy and law. Since becoming AU president this past summer, President Alger has held a listening tour across campus, launched the Civic Life Initiative, and engaged with faculty, staff, students, and alumni. He spent the past 12 years as president of James Madison University in Virginia, where he created and implemented a bold and visionary strategic plan focused on engaged learning, community engagement, and civic engagement. President Alger previously served as a vice president at Rutgers University and has also held positions at the University of Michigan, American Association of University Professors, and the U.S. Department of Education. He and his wife, Marianne, are thrilled to return to the city where they met and their daughter, Eleanor, was born. Please join me in welcoming President John Alger.
Good evening, everybody. This is the responsive part. Great to see you all here. Thank you so much for being a part of this special occasion. Allison, thank you for your kind introduction to the Honorable Jane Campbell. Thank you so much for hosting us here. This is a real treat for me personally and for all of us. And of course, to the Honorable David Skaggs, please give Laura our best wishes and thanks as well for her part in making this event possible. And Jeff Lang, where did Jeff? There he is, our mutual friend who is here. It's great to see you again, Jeff. It's a small world, it turns out, in terms of Madison fans, right, Jeff? So as you've heard, of course, I spent 12 years as president of James Madison University and am now at American University. You might see sort of a through line, a connection here that binds many of us in this room. And I always like to point out the fact that James Madison, of course, was our shortest president, but he cast a long shadow over American history. And really, he thought about a lot of the challenges that we're facing right now. If you go back and read what he had to say about factions and how do you bring diverse people together to compromise, to come together to do things for the betterment of a society where you didn't expect that everybody would agree. And that's why we have our Civic Life Initiative at the university that is focused on civil discourse, problem solving and searching for common ground, and creativity and innovation. Those are the skill sets we're trying to teach at the university. So I just wanted to say before introducing formally our first prize winner that we know this is a challenging time to be a public servant. I know that higher education is getting beaten up in various ways, and I know Congress does too, so we're in good company. And yet it really does take a lot of commitment and courage to serve in these very important roles and to put yourself out there, which we all really appreciate. Our democracy depends on having people who are willing to do that. And it's not just our elected officials, it's all of you who are working behind the scenes and in the halls of Congress and in the executive branch as well as in the judicial branch. So we are very, very grateful for your service. And by the way, that whole public service mission, that is why American University was founded in the nation's capital. And to this day, we attract students from all over the country and indeed all over the world who care deeply about public service. So that brings us, of course, to the purpose of today and recognizing some truly exceptional public servants. First, Representative Stephanie Bice, one of our winners, of course, this evening. Representative Bice is a fourth-generation Oklahoman, I understand, who represents the state's 5th Congressional District. She was elected to Congress in 2020 and was chosen by her colleagues to serve as the 117th Republican freshman class president, which is pretty cool. The first female ever elected to this role. That's quite exciting. She previously served in the Oklahoma State Senate, where she focused on issues such as fiscal responsibility, economic development, and job growth, things that are very important to our country. In Congress, she serves on the Appropriations Committee. You hear some important roles here, where she was named Vice Chair of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Subcommittee, and as Chairwoman of the Subcommittee on Modernization and Innovation within the Committee on House Administration. I'm glad to know that we have a focus on modernization and innovation. She was also named to a seat on the United States Military Academy, so a higher education role at West Point on their Board of Visitors. So please join me now in congratulating Representative Stephanie Bice.
Well, thank you, President, for this incredible opportunity. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here tonight, to the Capitol Historical Society for hosting. It is truly an honor to be awarded the 2025 American University Madison Prize for Constitutional Excellence. I also want to take a moment to thank my predecessor in Oklahoma's 5th Congressional District, Representative Mickey Edwards, who has been a wonderful sort of example to many of what it takes to be a good public servant, and certainly others who were part of the selection committee who've chosen me. You mentioned this, Representative, I think, in your remarks. It is often a word that isn't said enough and has a negative connotation, and that is bipartisanship. And more, the media today leans into the sort of chaos narrative. If you're bludgeoning someone else, then that's the headline of the day. The real work that many of us do in Congress, not just myself, but many across the conference, doesn't get as much highlight and as much attention as it really should. You know, I was really incredibly honored to be named the Modernization Subcommittee Chairwoman on House Administration. And that's really where a lot of work happens that is bipartisan. It's not the sexy things that you see on TV, but it's really important work. And I want to mention a couple of those. The Americans with Disabilities Act drop-off and pickup zone. It's really incredible to me that the United States Capitol didn't have a permanent pickup and drop-off zone for those with physical disabilities. And we were able to do that this last year. Modernization of Congress, looking at ways we can utilize AI or other technology to improve how the institution actually functions. Little things like a flag tracking system. When someone orders a flag in your office, now we have sort of a Domino's pizza delivery app. You can see where it's going and when it's going to arrive. Staff collaborative workspaces, changes to casework for new and departing members, making sure that constituent casework isn't abandoned when an existing member leaves office. These are all things that are really nonpartisan, and we recognize they have to be addressed. A quick funny story about how I ended up on House administration. As a new member in 2020, I went through the orientation process for new members, and frankly, I thought it could be improved. So I put together a couple of page document about what I thought should happen in new member orientation. And then in January of 23, I got a call from then leader, about to be Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, and he said, hey, guess what? You're going to be on House Administration and you're going to be the chair of the Subcommittee on Modernization. What I learned is that when you offer up suggestions, you get put in charge. But it was really an opportunity for me to work across the aisle and find really great ways to move the organization forward. And, you know, tomorrow I have some really excited news that I'm going to be sharing that is a bipartisan project, if you will, that I've been working on for 2 years. And a little, maybe, you know, heads up, it impacts almost everyone in the country and has to do with paid family leave. So I'll put that pin there. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. President, you mentioned that this job is challenging, and you are exactly right. But I am reminded that this country has been through challenging times in the past. We have seen a civil war. We have seen depressions. We have seen wars, you know, with foreign adversaries. And we always seem to come together and make it through. And I think this is a reminder that in those hard times, when things are challenging, when the headlines seem a little difficult, to remember that there are a lot of people that are working in Congress to try to move this country forward and put us on a better path. And so I want to just say a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for the opportunity to be here and for this incredible award. Thank you.
Julia?
I think, yeah, Allison's in the picture.
Sure, yeah. You want to, it's kind of heavy. Did you bring anybody over here with you? Excellent, okay, somebody.
They're going to take pictures, so I think so.
No, but we
Can
can take it.
can I do this? Can I take these
Oh, yeah,
off?
yeah, sure. Thank you for thinking
Here.
about that.
I end up being, you know,
You're
sort of.
smart. You've done that a few times, obviously.
Right here. The first bust of James Madison ever had.
Stay put. And I've got a quick one as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleased to meet you, and good luck with everything. I'll be in touch if I need to.
Please do, please do. I appreciate it, President. Absolutely. This is
Congratulations. Thank you for being
very
here.
much for the award and opportunity. And thank you for, oh, here, let me get that one. There you go. And thank you for adhering to all of the ethics rules, which makes it complicated, but I appreciate it. So
Well,
no one
Derek
gets in
especially
trouble.
for-
Yes, yes,
He's waiting outside.
yes. Thank you, thank you.
All right. All right.
Cleared for takeoff.
I think we're cleared for our second honoree, and I did want to acknowledge that the Honorable Dick Gebhardt is with us, whose grandson happens to be a student at American University. So glad to have you here, and Truman, good to have you here. And so it is a delight now to introduce our second honoree of the evening, the Honorable Derek Kilmer. And as you know, he is a former representative. He is currently the Senior Vice President of U.S. Program and Policy for the Rockefeller Foundation, where he leads a range of work that engages domestic and global leaders, civil society actors, businesses, and institutions. Prior to joining the Rockefeller Foundation, Representative Kilmer served 6 terms as U.S. Representative for Washington's 6th District. As a native of Washington's beautiful Olympic Peninsula, anybody else been hiking there? Fantastic place. He passed a landmark economic development law to help economically distressed communities, establishing a program that became the most popular in the Economic Development Administration's history. He also served as chairman of the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress, we've been hearing about that, which passed over 200 recommendations to make Congress work better. And I love this. It was described in the Washington Post as a story of shocking function. Think about that for a shocking function. I love that. So please join me in congratulating the Honorable Derek Kilmer.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. President, and it's great to be with you all. Leader Gebhardt, honored to be in your presence, and Congressman Skaggs, grateful very much for this honor. I also want to thank the Capitol Historical Society that does such important work, and all the folks who were involved in this undertaking, including, I know Mickey Edwards isn't able to be here tonight, but he's a dear friend as well, and grateful for him. I want to point out the difference between being a member of Congress and a former member of Congress. You may have noticed I didn't show up with any staff. I was told that one of the when you leave Congress, one of the aha moments is when you wake up that first morning, look in the mirror, and you're staring at your entire staff. That was indeed my experience. I learned there's all sorts of fun rules with ethics in terms of being able to speak with members and staff present. So thank you for the organizers for working with the ethics committee on that. But finally, when you're a member of Congress, you get to speak in front of groups all the time. I don't, and so I hope you're ready for about 45 minutes of me just talking. No. In all seriousness, I want to say thank you for lifting up Congress as an institution, because I think it matters. You know, as we come up on the 250th birthday of our nation, I think it is an important moment to embrace our nation's constitutional character. And there's a reason our founders named Congress as the first branch. You know, and there's debate about that, and there's some hot topics about that right now, but I really do want to thank you for lifting up the institution at a time where it needs to be lifted up. I had the honor of leading this committee on the modernization of Congress. It's always a little tricky when you say I spent 6 years working to try to make Congress work better. Generally the response is, well, bang up job, pal. Although I'm reminded of an interaction I had with the House chaplain during like the 15th vote for Speaker of the House. She was walking up the floor and I looked at her and I said, "Pray harder." And she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, "Just imagine how messed up this place would be if I wasn't praying so hard." And that's a lot how I think about the work on the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress. We actually were able to pass, as you heard, 200 recommendations just focused on making the institution function better for the American people. Some of them were small ticket items. If you drive up in front of the Library of Congress and you see a ADA parking spot for people to get off when they want to come visit the Capitol, that was one of the 202 recommendations, was to make the institution more accessible for people with disabilities. Some of them were bigger topics focused on budget and appropriations reform. Some of them were things that just made sense. I'll just tell a quick story. We did a hearing on culture. How do you fix broken culture? And we invited in a political scientist and a management consultant. We invited in the guy who started Braver Angels, whose background was as a marriage counselor. I thought about inviting an exorcist. But we had a organizational psychologist. We invited all of these experts in to give us advice on how to fix the organization, fix the institution. And afterwards, the organizational psychologist pulled me aside and he said, "There's a guy I think you should talk to. He's a football coach, an NCAA football coach, who took over a team with a terrible culture that was losing all of the time, and he turned them into winners." And I said, "Great." So get on the phone with this coach, and he says, "Well, I got to tell you, I don't know anything about Congress." I said, "I don't want to ask you about Congress. I want to ask you about culture. What do you do when you got players on the team who are trying to sabotage the team?" And he said, "Well, I cut them." I said, "Well, we don't really have that option, coach." And he said, "Well, let me ask you something." I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, how do you do new player orientation?" I said, "Well, it's funny, we don't have new players, but we do have new member orientation." He said, "How does it work?" I said, "It's funny. It works entirely the wrong way. Mr. Leader, I don't know if it was like this when you were there. Actually, as I understand it, it started this way in 1994. When I went through orientation, it was literally a process designed to keep the two parties from talking to each other. Literally, you had a sign that said, Democrats, you get on this bus, Republicans, you get on that bus. And most of the orientation was designed to keep the two parties from engaging one another, which kind of set the tone for the rest of our time in the institution. And the coach I talked to said, well, I don't know much about Congress, but it seemed like you ought to stop doing that. So one of our 202 recommendations was stop doing that. This class that just went through is the first class since 1994 that went through a truly bipartisan orientation process. And that's not going to fix Congress overnight, but I think over time it can make a big difference. I mentioned chairing this committee. When I first became chair of the committee, I had someone reach out to me and give me a copy of a speech that had been given by Secretary John Gardner at Cornell University in 1968. Interestingly enough, I met someone recently who was at that graduation, which was kind of cool. But in the speech, he spoke about the importance of institutional stewardship. And he talked about the declining faith in institutions. By the way, this was in 1968. Think about where we've come in terms of declining faith in our institutions. Declining faith, Lord knows, Mr. President, in institutions of higher education, declining faith in our business community, declining faith in government, even according to recent polling, defining faith in our religious institutions. And you know we're in trouble when people are losing faith in faith. And he gave this speech about the importance of, if we're going to lift up institutions like you are tonight, the importance of being what he referred to as loving critics of institutions. And he said institutions suffer from what he called uncritical lovers, people who deny an institution the sort of life-giving improvement, an eye toward it, making it better, that an institution needs to be durable and to be lifted up. And the other thing he said is institutions suffer from what he referred to as unloving critics, from folks who bash an institution or treat it like the piñata at the party. And Lord knows we see that as it pertains to Congress right now. And what makes you all unique, what makes you serve unique, what makes those of you who put this event together unique, is that you're loving critics, that you're actually trying to lift up Congress as an institution and make sure that it can do the job that the American people need it to do. I left Congress 4 months ago, about almost 5 months ago now, and I continue to just revere the institution. It was really hard for me to find parking as a former member, though, I'll be honest. But I revere it. I really do. And I look at it with an eye of hope. It was always strange to go home and go to the grocery store and people would ask how you're doing as though you'd been diagnosed with a terminal disease. And my aspiration for the folks who are still serving and for all of us who care about the institution is that we change that. That by being loving critics, we actually change the dynamic. And I am hopeful in that regard. I'll just end with this. I had this rap with I went to this Methodist church in Gig Harbor, Washington for the last 20-odd years. And I had this rap with my pastor every time I walked out of church. She'd say, "How's it going back there?" And I'd go, "Well, I'm genetically optimistic." And that was our rap every Sunday. "How's it going back there?" I'd say, "I'm genetically optimistic." And one Sunday on my way out of church, she said, "How's it going back there?" I said, "I'm genetically optimistic." And she grabbed my hand and she said, "I want you to stop saying that." And she stuck a piece of paper into my hand. And I got into my car and I unfolded the paper and it had a quote from Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. And it said, "There's a difference between optimism and hope." It said, "Optimism is a passive virtue. It is the belief that things will get better." And it said, "Hope is an active virtue. It is the belief that together we can make things better." It said, "It doesn't take courage to have optimism, but it does take courage to hope." And I like that. I really like that. I like that because it understands that we are not observers in this democratic experiment. We're participants in it. And I like it because it uses the word "we," because it understands that we're all part of this and that we all have to be part of, as our founders suggested, forming that more perfect union. And since this is the Madison Award, I think as we head into the 250th, it is only appropriate that we think about America's constitutional character and we think about the importance of Article 1 of that Constitution, and being honored in the name of the father of our Constitution. I'm very grateful for that. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Down to one.
All right.
Let's try first. Stay there. Let go. Breathe. James.
Mark, this one here, please. One more. Oh, one more.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I'm Ron Elving from the CCPS, and I am an SPA at American University. And I would like to express our thanks and the thanks of everyone in the room for the people who have made this an important moment for us all. Want to thank by thanking David Skaggs and Laura, wish she could be here. Want to also thank Dean Jacknowitz, who is our SPA leader. I want to thank Jim Thurber, who is with us and has had a great deal to do with all the directions that this SPA has taken for many, many years. And David Barker, who is the real head of the CCPS. I am his stand-in acting head. And thank you so much, President Alger, for being here. And Jane, for being our hostess, for being a wonderful chairman of the board of the U.S. Capitol Historical Society for these past 6 years. Hats off to you, and thanks again for having us here. Thank you all very much for being here. Good night. And you are all invited to refreshments across the street, way across the street, and the best part of which is it has the best view of the Capitol you haven't ever seen. You should get up there and see the Capitol, have a quick refreshment or two, and have a chance to greet and honor. It's the top floor.
9th floor.
Thank you.
Ask the woman, she knows. Thank you all very much. See you at the Hart Building.
Great to see you.